Having been making these videos now for about a year, but really focusing on Fort Collins over the last 3 to 5 months, I've been having conversations and calls and discussions with people moving from all over the country to here in Fort Collins. And one of the main questions they're asking is, where should we live? Where should we live in Fort Collins? Should we explore Timnath, Windsor, Loveland, Wellington, or within Fort Collins, it's extremely important to us that we're staying in Pooter school districts. So this video is going to talk to you about where should you live in Fort Collins, Colorado, if you are deciding to relocate here. What's up, guys? This is Patrick Soukup with Soukup Real Estate Services here in Fort Collins, Colorado. And if you're new to the channel, this is going to be everything about Fort Collins, Colorado, real estate, buying, selling, investing. So if you would, consider subscribing. Otherwise, at the end of this video, if you enjoyed the content, give it a big thumbs up, give me a comment, engage, interact. And if you're considering relocating or moving here to Fort Collins, give me a call, send me a text, email, whatever works for you. I've got your back when it comes to moving to Fort Collins, Colorado. So without any further delay, let's jump into where should you live in Fort Collins, Colorado. I'm working with people between 20 years old, 22 years old, and 50 years old. One of the common questions one of the common desires is to live close to bike trails. And again, one of the things that I don't have a great grasp on is perspective when it comes to living anywhere besides Fort Collins. Having been born and raised here, I just assume that having 280 plus miles of bike trails is normal. But when people hear this, they just are really taken aback when I tell them, well, really anywhere in Fort Collins besides the northwest, but northwest even has access to the Horsetooth Reservoir, parks, areas, lower traffic, so riding on the streets isn't as big of a deal. But really anywhere, north, east, south, west, there is a bike trail within a mile or two that will take you from South Fort Collins to North Fort Collins. So if you're looking at buying or living near bike trails, really anywhere in Fort Collins now, northeast does not have a ton of bike trails yet, but it is in the master plan development for these bike trails to expand north. So in the near future, which who knows how close that could be, 5, 10 years, I would assume closer to 5 than it is 10, but anywhere in Fort Collins is really going to have quick, easy access to bike trails. So if your desire is to live close to bike trails, yeah, your Timnaths, Windsors, Wellingtons and Lovelands might not have as many or as much bike trail access, but they actually do have some pretty good ones as well that do connect to Fort Collins. So don't necessarily rule those out, but Fort Collins is just, it's got a ton of bike trails, over, like I said, 280 miles worth of bike trails. So if you're looking at moving for bike trails anywhere besides the Northwest, you're gonna be pretty darn close. Now, one of the biggest pulls to Fort Collins is downtown Fort Collins, Old Town Square. I love it. The historical houses, even new developments north, the River District, everything about downtown Fort Collins and Old Town Fort Collins is amazing. And really, I could see people who are, empty nesters, young couples, young singles. And let me say, I am sorry, I've been getting some backlash on the single scene here in Fort Collins. From what I've been told, it's actually not as bad as I've portrayed it. So take that into consideration. I was single when I was a little bit younger, and that was not necessarily a struggle by any means, but I felt that maybe in a bigger city, bigger area, there would be more opportunities. So I apologize to those locals who are giving me some backlash saying, hey, I found my love of my life here. But anyways, you're a young couple, young singles, empty nestered, retired folks. The really only group of people I don't see downtown being a great option for is young families. And the reason being is because a lot of these streets downtown are relatively busy. They have on-street parking. There's not really any cul-de-sacs. They are, people are driving to and from work often. It's just a more dense area. So you're not going to have your kids playing in the streets, stickball, kickball, whatever you want to do. That's probably the one downside of, the one group of people that I don't see it being a great fit for. But If you have a big backyard or are willing to take a walk down to the splash pad or to, Lee Martinez Park, City Park, there are options very close. So don't necessarily take that as, an end all be all. I just feel like if there were to be a group of people that downtown doesn't necessarily fit, that would be it. As we do grow in size and become a more desired location for people of all different employments or tech, entrepreneurs, whatever that might be, one of the main desires I've been hearing is access to I-25. And that would really be Southeast Fort Collins. Just based off of geographic location, that's going to be your closest access point to I-25 and quickest route down to DIA, about 45 to 50 minutes. You do not want to be on the northwest side of town because you're going to have to commute all the way east to I-25 and then an extra 10 to 15 minutes south. So it could add an additional 25 to 30 minutes to your commute if you are on the northwest side of town. So if it is important to you and you do commute to Denver, DIA, at least sticking into the southeast quadrant. And really all that means is east of College, south of Prospect. That would still allow you quick access to I-25 and not necessarily have to deal with too much traffic east to west. That's probably going to be your biggest delay is if you're all the way west along the foothills. So as far as if you're wanting access to I-25, southeast quadrant. Here's one that I just would not have thought about without really working with as many individuals as I am moving into the state, or really even within Fort Collins. It is a desire, but not as much. I haven't seen it as much from folks within the city of wanting HOAs or no HOAs that allow RV or boat parking. There are definitely people that have got their boats out on Horsetooth that maybe store it on property or at a storage yard or their RV, but generally, I would say these people typically store them off-site, not necessarily on their property. If that is something that you are interested in, you're going to have to find these little pockets. They're not all over the place. Downtown, there's just not enough room. The lots are not big enough. Unless you've got, a double lot and you have the ability to park on the back half or the back end of your property, there's just not enough room on lots for RVs or boats. Midtown is going to be your best option where there's enough subdivisions, Meadowlark, Southmore, that just don't have the HOAs that these newer developments on the south have that are going to restrict any RV or boat parking. So don't even think about it because your neighbor is going to, call the HOA and they're going to get all pissy and angry at you and say, get your boat off our yard or get your boat off the grass, whatever that might be. You've had it here for 48 hours. So these little pockets of older neighborhoods, 1970s, 1980s, without an HOA, larger lots, quarter acres, might have the ability to park your RV or boat on property. Otherwise, you're gonna have to start looking kind of east of I-25, north of town, get a little more acreage, but you're not gonna find it downtown. South of town has all the HOA. North of town because of how small the lots are. South of town because of all the HOAs. Midtown, little pockets where there are no HOAs with big enough lots will allow you to park your RV or boat. We might not be sommeliers here in Fort Collins, but we are absolutely beer connoisseurs. And if you're wanting to be close to, or at least be able to bike, walk within a few minutes to breweries, your northeast is going to be where you want to be. This is where your New Belgium, Odell's, Coopersmith, Equinox, Funkworks, Big Red Truck are all going to be in this kind of, it's almost like a brewery drive. And there will be more that come there, but within 5 to 10 miles, within between 2 to 3 miles, 5 to 10 minutes biking, you could get within, probably within 5 to 10 different breweries here on the northeast side of town. So if that's something that's important to you and you really enjoy spending your Saturday or Sunday on a patio, the northeast, really north of Mulberry, east of College, is going to be where the majority of our breweries are and where you're going to want to spend a lot of your time enjoying, a Sunday afternoon when we're able to get outside and commute or, enjoy that some warm weather. Hopefully it's coming sooner than later. One of the final sections about where should you live in Fort Collins is if you're wanting to build Fort Collins is getting more and more compact. There are less and less infill areas for development. There will be some big developments coming down the pipeline, which is going to be north and on the east side of town, some along the west foothills, but really, other than that, everything is going to just have to be on the outskirts. So you will ultimately be on the outskirts of Fort Collins if you're looking at doing a new build construction in a development. If you're wanting to buy land, again, north or south or east of I-25 is really the only place or area that you're going to be able to go to find a lot or area that you can build. From there, if you're not interested in that, Timnath and Windsor, North Loveland are areas that are, and East Loveland are seeing massive development opportunities. People are moving there as little bedroom communities. Wellington is a great choice as well. If Fort Collins isn't necessarily, if you don't want to necessarily buy an existing build, but you are more interested in a new build, there will be less and less opportunities here in Fort Collins for the new construction. You're gonna have to go to Timnath, Windsor, Wellington, Loveland to find those opportunities. And now, let's be fair. Maybe Fort Collins isn't necessarily the place for you. You definitely want to be in northern Colorado, and I will start hitting on some of these different communities and areas because of the discussions that I'm having with individuals moving from out of state. But let's just go down the list of what it looks like high level and the price point of living in these different areas. Wellington is going to be kind of more of your bedroom community, and the median price point is going to be about $378,000. Growing but more expensive is Timnath, Colorado. The population is doubling almost annually. Now, granted, there was 100% population growth a few years back. That will decrease as the population grows, but it's super easy, to double your population when it's only, 1,000 or a couple hundred people. So that's not necessarily anything to, look at too heavily, but a median price point in Timnath is going to be $534,000. Then going into a redeveloping area, East Loveland is got a lot of open space. New development can go on there, can occur there, but the master plan for Old Town Loveland and really Midtown Loveland is just abysmal. It's terrible. There's commercial next to industrial, next to residential, next to multifamily, all in like one row. So there needs to be a substantial amount of redevelopment in Loveland. But if that area is somewhere that you like, because that is where I bought my first house, the median price point in Loveland, Colorado, $395,000 in 2020. Now, Fort Collins, the median price point was $455,000. And it has a lot going for it. There are people from all over the country that just really want to come here, whether that be for the bike scene, brewery scene, outdoor activities, camping, where they want to park their RVs and boats so they can go into the mountains after, a 15 to 20 minute drive, skiing 3 hours away. But if Fort Collins isn't necessarily your place, feel free to look around at those different areas. But this video hopefully helps you understand kind of the different areas where people are asking me where they want to live here in Fort Collins, Colorado. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment. And if you're considering relocating to Fort Collins, give me a call, text, email. I've got your back when it comes here to moving to Fort Collins, Colorado. Till next time, guys, take care.